Oh boy. I mean, I see it all the time on social media, particularly Twitter, and no, I'm not going to call it X. Um, People saying, "Oh, the MCU is in shambles," and "Oh, the MCU is over after Endgame." Like, I'm tired of it because it's always annoying. Just like little fanboys who think they know everything and they act like the world is ending just because we got some really terrible projects like Secret Invasion and She-Hulk and Thor: Love and Thunder and Quantum Mania and all that stuff. And they think the MCU is over and it's in shambles and it's a mess. And um, well, I mean, we knew it wasn't perfect, but today, we got to see how bad it really is. Because Variety just put out a huge article today, where they, for lack of a better term, quite literally spill the tea on Marvel Studios and possibly their downfall. So literally the headline of this article is Marvel in Trouble. Crisis at Marvel. Jonathan Majors backup plans, the Marvel's reshoots, reviving original Avengers, and more issues revealed. So they released this article today, completely out of nowhere, and just dropped all these big bombs. Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, they just went on their annual studio retreat. They do this every year. They go to the Bahamas, I think, and they just sit down together and kind of talk about like, oh, so this is the MCU. What are our overarching plans, and is there anything we need to fix? Blah blah blah, and they kind of like map stuff out, which personally I think is a great idea. But this was a very important retreat for them because things have gone downhill, and so this is one where they needed to really work on looking at some other options here. And one of the things they talked about was, of course, the whole VFX thing. In this article, Variety says a single episode of She-Hulk cost some $25 million, dwarfing the budget of a final season episode of HBO's Game of Thrones. Which, I mean, I haven't watched Game of Thrones, but I can tell it's an expensive show. Now, one episode of She-Hulk is $25 million, which, I mean, most streaming shows episodes cost that much, at least like, the big budget blockbuster type series. But the problem is, that's about the same cost as like an episode of Stranger Things, but Stranger Things actually performs well. She-Hulk not so much. Now, one of the biggest reasons for this huge budget again is because of the CGI and the VFX work. Because I think this is specifically the first episode, which of course had both She-Hulk and Hulk in it. Yeah, we've talked about it before. Marvel has very unfairly treated their VFX workers. So that's definitely something they need to work on for sure. But the other big pressing matter here is, of course, Jonathan Majors, because yeah, Jonathan Majors, of course, was arrested back in, I think it was either late March or early April, for domestic violence, supposedly. His trial still hasn't happened. It's going to be next month. Let's just say things aren't looking good. And I really hope things go well, and I hope that he's proven innocent and all this stuff because he's a fantastic actor. I love Miss Kang the Conqueror. I've been loving him in Loki Season 2. But of course, Marvel Studios had to discuss some backup plans. And Variety, one person at Variety supposedly saw the final episode of Loki Season 2 and said, quote, "Marvel is truly effed with the whole Kang angle," says one top dealmaker who has seen the final Loki episode. "I don't see a path to how they move forward with him." Now, obviously, I don't know what happens in the final episode of Loki Season 2. I'm not going to look up spoilers for that. I'm not going to spoil that for you guys either. But you can assume, Jonathan Majors is going to be in the episode. It's going to set up Kang to be the big bad. But that clearly is not going well. We also saw in this report from Variety that apparently CAA parted ways with Jonathan Majors pre-arrest for his, quote, brutal conduct towards staff. Again, things are not looking good for Jonathan Majors because, like, even as more evidence comes out for this one particular situation that he was arrested for this time, it's caused more people to come out and speak out against him and talk about his supposed hostile and brutal behavior in past situations. I mean, literally, CAA parted ways with him before he was even arrested. So, and it's something I struggle with so much to even think about as a possibility, because you see him on red carpets and you see him talking to interviewers and just literally anybody that I've seen him talk to, he just seems like the kindest, gentlest man. And to hear that he's behind closed doors acting like this is just really sad. It's really devastating, because again, the man is so talented, and it's just gonna all be thrown away now. It's really such a shame. Um, but here's another thing from the Variety article. Apparently, even before all this, Kevin Feige even himself was having doubts about Kang the Conqueror, because a studio source notes that regardless of Jonathan Majors' legal issues, Marvel already had considered moving away from a Majors-led phase because of the box office performance of Quantumania, which will struggle to make a profit. Now, this one I find a bit ridiculous, and a little hard to believe, just because Quantumania, it was not a good movie. It did not perform well, but that is in no part due to the fact of Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors was the best part of that movie, in fact. He was one of the few good parts of that film. And so to blame that all on him is just, again, that's ludicrous. So I don't get that. Although, to be fair, your next big bad to be defeated by a bunch of ants in an Ant-Man movie, that's not a great look either, so that's understandable. But then this brings us to the big thing going on here, the big reveal. In the wake of Jonathan Majors' legal troubles, Marvel executives discussed backup plans, including pivoting to another comic book adversary like Doctor Doom. Now, this one I have mixed feelings on, because again, I like it. It would just be such a shame. You build out Kang this much and then just throw it away. Like, what are you even gonna do with Avengers: The Kang Dynasty? Rename it to Avengers: The Doom Dynasty? I don't know. But like, to set all this stuff up and then not do Kang, like, even if it doesn't work out with Jonathan Majors, just recast the guy. Like, it's not that hard to do. That's the simplest thing that they could do, honestly. Like, that is the simple way of going about doing things. Now, Doctor Doom, though, I would love, because Doctor Doom, fantastic villain, and especially considering that, we're building up to Avengers Secret Wars, and Doctor Doom was the main villain of Secret Wars in the comics. It makes sense that Doctor Doom would be the big bad of that, but considering that wasn't the original plan, it was supposed to be Kang, I just don't think they have time to properly set up, introduce, and build Doctor Doom to that villain standpoint to be the big bad of this phase when we're already this far in. It just doesn't make sense logistically. So I don't know if that can work. Personally, I think they should just recast Kang. If that's what it comes down to, just continue forward with Kang and recast, because that is the easiest, simplest thing and path that they could take here. Now, there's that whole thing going on. We also have the Marvels, which, according to this Variety article, the Marvels director Nia DaCosta began working on another film while the Marvels was still in post-production. The filmmaker moved to London earlier this year to begin prepping for a Tessa Thompson drama, Hedda. Now, a lot of people are coming after Nia DaCosta for this, but like, guys, it's not that uncommon. This is actually pretty standard in the industry for something like this to happen. Like, it makes sense. Like, she's got to work on another movie. She's going to do that. Like, yes, like you can be in London and still be involved in the post-production, especially with today's technology, like Zoom meetings and all that stuff. Would it be better to be in person? Yeah, but this is just a ridiculous thing to go after Nia DaCosta for, especially when she's even been saying that this movie really isn't even hers. She's not proud of the Marvels. Even she thinks it's going to be bad because it's not her movie. She said that she doesn't feel like she directed it. And we get that from a lot of Marvel directors because they don't have a lot of creative freedom. They're restricted to this vision that Kevin Feige has, which is really unfortunate. Now, second to last, let's talk about Blade. So, the Blade reboot with Mahershala Ali went through at least 5 writers, 2 directors, and 1 shutdown 6 weeks before production. Now, Blade, of course, 2019 Comic-Con, that was the big reveal there. Mahershala Ali walks out on stage. He's going to be Blade. Blade's coming to the MCU. It was awesome. But it just has not had a good journey in the MCU so far. I think originally the movie was supposed to come out in like 2022. That clearly didn't happen. But then things get worse. Like I said, the script has been reworked plenty of times. One person familiar with the Blade script changes says the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons, with Mahershala Ali's Blade relegated to the 4th lead. What the hell is that? Now, I'd heard things about Blade maybe having a daughter in the movie, which I wasn't super happy about that even, because it's like, I don't want this really badass vampire hunter to be stuck on babysitting duty. I want him to be Blade. But I was willing to, like, okay, fine, he'll have a daughter, whatever. But to find out that he would be 4th lead in a Blade movie, he's not even the star. That would be completely ridiculous. You have Mahershala Ali. Why would you not take advantage of that? That makes absolutely 0 sense. Now, Marvel Studios is still working on Blade. They're looking to do an actual Blade movie led by Mahershala Ali this time, with a smaller budget of $100 million, which, I mean, vampire film, good, easy, should have a small budget. Boom, there you go. Now, finally, probably the most controversial thing here, sources say there have been talks to bring back the original gang for an Avengers movie. This would include reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, both of whom were killed off in Endgame. This right here is just the sign of showing how desperate Marvel Studios really is. The fact that they would bring back these 2 characters. It's ridiculous. It really is, because you can't do that without ruining what happened in Endgame. You can't do that without undoing their endings, which were so beautifully done. Now, I fully expected them to come back in Secret Wars as variants, and that could be something we see, but, there's been rumors of an MCU reboot, which I also have mixed feelings on. But if you reboot the MCU and just start a new universe and you have the same actors, if you have Robert Downey Jr. back as Iron Man, Scarlett Johansson back as Black Widow, it just... No, that's not going to work. And same thing goes for Chris Evans. He's not mentioned specifically in this article, but I would assume they would bring him back as well. Do the variants thing. That is the most I want to see. The only other, like actually with Chris Evans, you could have a little bit of fun with it and have it be as Human Torch and not as Steve Rogers variant. The only thing I would want to see Robert Downey Jr. back for is to be the Tony Stark AI like he was in the comics. He was a source of help for Ironheart, Riri Williams, who we know is coming back to the MCU, unless that series gets canceled too. Things are just so all over the place and messy and complicated at Marvel Studios right now. Messy, it's like Target. I don't know if Target is like this where you guys are, but every Target I've walked into is a complete and total mess. Stuff all over the floor, just, it's all over the place. Marvel Studios is like Target right now. And that's not a good thing. But the good thing is that at least these issues are being acknowledged, and hopefully that means that these issues are now going forward going to be fixed. They're going to course correct and get us back on track. Now, will we ever get back to the glory days of the MCU pre-Endgame? I don't know, but I'm still sticking with them. I'm still going to see what happens. I mean, Loki has been good, but we got the Marvels later this month, so we'll see, I guess. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Yeah, let's discuss this thing, all this messiness that is going on here with Marvel and the MCU. So Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything goes on in the Marvel life.